So we're driving through Kent right now. We're crossing over some railroad tracks. So this is a more affordable area of Seattle, and you can get quite a bit more home for the money. We're down south, so we're near Federal Way, kind of the King County, Snohomish County line. We're definitely within commuting distance of Seattle and Bellevue. And the nice thing about being here in the south end, you can kind of go up either freeway. So you can go up 405 if you're going east into Bellevue, or you can go up I-5 if you're going west into Seattle. And here's the Mill Creek Bulldogs. So as you can see, we were kind of in that industrial area starting out with, but then we get up into more residential homes pretty quickly here. And we have this nice hill that we're going up. And one of the wonderful things about living here in the Seattle area and the Pacific Northwest is that we do have a lot of hills which provide great territorial views. Really, you get a sense of the space, and being in, not just boxed in by your neighbors, but you can see for miles around. You can see trees and sunsets and mountains and water and things like that when you get up on some of these hills. So obviously we're on a pretty busy street right now, so these are not going to be like the nicest of properties here on the busy street, but you can tell, I'll see if we can kind of show, when you go off into the side streets, you get some nicer, just quieter, residential feeling, suburban feeling homes. And there are certainly some that are rentals. I saw one that was boarded up further back, and we tend to just get a mix in some of these more affordable areas. It's more likely to be rentals. Here's East Hill Elementary. And also on the busier streets, on the more, close to retail, close to industrial type stuff, there's more likely to be rentals as well. Those just aren't as premium. But you can see here, kind of get an idea of what some of the shops are. So we have Starbucks, of course, Popeye's Chicken, Happy Donuts, Northwest Smokes. There's a Fred Meyer, which is kind of our grocery store and kind of all things store. 7-Eleven up ahead, Nails. So kind of a combination of bigger name brands, credit tenants, and also smaller mom and pop local businesses, things like that. Popeye's Louisiana Chicken. I went to school in North Carolina, and they were all about the fried chicken in the South. I don't feel like it's as much of an institution around here. We grew up with Kentucky Fried Chicken being our main fried chicken option, but now we have Zell's Chicken. I guess we have Popeyes, and so there are more fried chicken options now than there used to be. Although I think we have a lot of different international foods. Pho, P-H-O, is a Vietnamese soup that's popular here. Kind of a lot of Asian fusion type of restaurants, Thai food. There's Taco Bell, their new ghostly white and purple logo. Don't like it that much. AutoZone, curry and kebab. So like Indian food, Greek food. There's India Village over there, that one's called. Subway, McDonald's, self-storage, Firestone Tire, there's a laundromat, there's a big gas station. And then you can see, like right next to that, we have some townhomes, the Groves, the Bauer Apartments. And so, like I was saying, when we're close to this more shopping, working type of areas, the first phase of residential tends to be more rental or less expensive, and then as we get deeper into the suburbs, we tend to find more houses, more bigger houses, more expensive houses, that type of thing. Here's a church. What's it called? Lutheran Church of the Cross, and a Lutheran school. Lutherans were really a Protestant denomination that came over from a lot of Scandinavian countries. They really liked the fishing out here. German countries really liked the farming out here. So I think like Minnesota has a lot of Lutherans, and the Pacific Northwest has a lot of Lutherans as well. Unique selection of pumpkins and gourds. This is Kent East Hill Nursery. We'll get you growing. Super cute. So again, unlike the rest of Seattle, as we get out into the countryside, a little bit more land is less expensive, and you will see more businesses like garden centers. This looks like they're selling potted plants at this nursery, but you'll find places where they're actually growing the plants as well. So they're rooting cuttings in the ground and raising the plants, which they then dig and put in a retail nursery location like this. But that's certainly more common here to the south and the east of the Seattle and Bellevue area, where we're, you know, suburban bordering on rural. Look at the beautiful trees. It's October right now. It's 56 degrees outside, so it's still pretty warm. We haven't had our first frost yet this year. It's mid-October, but we are starting to get some beautiful leaf color, which I love. You can see it's a little overcast. We actually haven't had too much rain lately, which is nice. Whenever it rains a lot, it tends to wash the leaves off the trees faster, but when it's drier, they stay crisp and beautiful for longer. They're like our flowers of the autumn. Another church here on the main road. And you can see now how quickly we've sort of transitioned into this undeveloped area. Kind of, you can look at the map. We've got a lot of green space over there. Looks like park entrance here. East Ridge Baptist Church. And so some more houses, but in, you know, deep in Seattle in the city, you're not going to see such big parks for the most part. Smaller pocket parks are more common. Here's the back of a development. Wandering Creek apartment living. Here's another 7-Eleven, QFC, more apartments. State Farm, some office rental back there. Meridian Place, so they've got Teriyaki, they've got Edward Jones Investments, they've got Sylvan Learning Center, a vape store, a dog wash place, an optometry doctor's office there, defensive driving school. So I'm gonna have to merge. And then more residential. So if you guys are here looking for homes and you're trying to kind of look online and see what's for sale, you know, you could see a house.
Take a slight right turn onto 148th Avenue Southeast.
You could see a house that looks nice from the pictures, but make sure you're using like Google Street View, or sometimes they'll have some drone pictures and things like that. You want to get an idea of what's around the house, and typically things that detract from value are like less expensive property, apartment buildings, backing up to the grocery store or other businesses, busy streets. And what's going to make it nicer is having parks and green spaces. You can see on the map, we're coming up to another green space here. There's some power lines that's a concern. People often don't like that as well. But a lot of times, especially with new construction, you'll find these developments are out where they can get big swaths of land, oftentimes like prior farmland that they are able to buy some acreage and just develop it. So Sometimes that can be closer to power lines and things that, may or may not be a concern for you. I have some clients that are talking about, buying an electric meter so they can measure that type of thing. And some people are like, hey, I'm in the city. There's going to be cell phone towers and electric lines. It doesn't bother me.
Take a slight right turn onto 148th Avenue Southeast.
So I think it's one of those things that can be a trade-off, and you just have to see what you can get for your money and, what your goals are.
In a quarter mile, turn right onto 146th Avenue Southeast.
Sometimes things that bother one person don't bother others, and vice versa. And now look, we're out in the country. We've got little livestock fencing down there. I couldn't quite see what the livestock were.
Turn right onto 146th
Nice home,
Avenue
fully
Southeast.
fenced.
Then the destination is on your right.
Pretty fancy, but then next door to it, they have this little guy, unfancy. This is Meridian Firs neighborhood.
In 900 feet, the destination is on your right, 25,007 146th Avenue Southeast.
So here we are. We're going to take a look at something for sale in this neighborhood. So we're in Kent. We're driving east toward Des Moines. Here we call it Des Moines with an S, the Washington state, rather than Des Moines, Iowa, where we don't pronounce the S. So here's the Showwear Center. They've got hockey.
Go past this light, then at the next one, turn left.
Passing under Highway 167 here. And so we're a little bit south of the airport. We're heading west toward Puget Sound. And so we're close
At the
to
light, turn left onto Washington Avenue North.
sort of Federal Way, which is the southernmost part of King County. King County is Washington's most populous county, where we've got Seattle, Washington, and Bellevue, Washington, and SeaTac International Airport, as well as the Boeing airplane manufacturing company, which is a big part of the economy in this area as well. And then as we get south of those areas, kind of where we are, it becomes a little more mixed. South of Seattle, there's a lot of industrial type of stuff, building, manufacturing, that type of a thing. And then it becomes a little bit more rural. And then we go south into Pierce County, which is where Tacoma is, which is another large city with a huge port. And they have Lewis McChord Joint Army Air Force Base down there. So we have a lot of military presence down south in Tacoma. And that can actually impact traffic quite a bit when we've got a lot of guys and girls going in and out of the base during shift changes and those types of things. There are also a lot of military people renting and buying homes in that area close to Tacoma along I-5.
Turn right onto South Kent Des Moines Road.
So again, we're driving somewhere. We're getting an idea of the surface streets, a lot of the kind of retail.
Go past this light, then at the next one, turn right.
The quality of the homes, the quality of the shops, the sort of the quality of the neighborhood. So you get a sense that it's mid-range. They have a lot of name brand stuff.
At the light, turn right onto South Kent Des Moines Road.
I'm gonna turn this off. Okay. Right there is the huge LA Fitness. This is kind of the Highway 168 that would take us over to I-5 and 405, where we'd get on the freeway to go up into the city, north to Seattle on I-5, north to Bellevue on 405, or south to Tacoma on I-5. I-5 is Interstate 5. It's our big international freeway going from Canada through Washington, Oregon, and California all the way down to Mexico. And you can kind of see, you know, some lowlands here. Has an agricultural feel, but then there are like apartment buildings right over there. So it's an interesting blend, a combination of developed and undeveloped land here, but very beautiful. It's October. We've got the trees starting to change color. This is the evergreen state, and actually here down in Federal Way in Pierce County, a lot of the land was owned by Weyerhaeuser, which is a big tree lumber company. And so they would basically own these forests, cut the forest down for lumber, you know, sell the wood, that type of thing. And then afterwards, sometimes they would replant them. They would replant the forests and grow their next crop of trees. Sometimes they would sell off the land to be developed into housing developments, you know, sometimes with, you know, a certain number of trees needing to grow there, a certain, you know, space. Each person needed an acre or two of land for their home site. So Weyerhaeuser has been a huge landowner over here, and also kind of responsible for some of the developments, especially in the more rural areas. But as a huge business in the area, they've donated a lot of money and done a lot of different things. And you can certainly see in some of our parks here in the Pacific Northwest some of the huge old growth evergreen trees still around, or cool kind of stumps from them where you can see like lumberjack cutouts and things where they would notch the trees to climb up them and be able to cut them down and harvest them. So kind of an interesting, fun part of our history here in Western Washington. And I do feel bad for Eastern Washington. They are part of the evergreen state that doesn't have any evergreens. It's a lot drier on the east side of the Cascade Mountains. So Eastern Washington is very agricultural. That's where all of our apples are grown. There are a lot of orchards over there. Peaches, cherries, pears, and they have a lot of rivers for hydroelectric, which are controversial because make the dams that we use to harvest the electricity from the water make it harder for salmon to get around and go upstream and spawn. So a lot of times people feel like there's kind of a clash between eastern part of the state and the western part of the state, where the west tends to attract people or have more causes that are around preservation of the watershed and the animals, the flora and fauna, that type of thing, even though ironically this part is much more developed, much more concrete jungle type of thing. And then in the eastern part of the state, you'll see a lot more crops and kind of land being utilized for profit, but a lot less population density for sure. In the farther eastern part of the state, kind of farther from the mountains and the rivers, they have a lot of grain and just huge fields where grain and other crops are made. So if you drive, like say from Seattle over to Idaho, you can really get a feel for all of the different types of things that Washington does. But Western Washington is where all the rain falls, that we kind of get it coming in off the ocean, and those Cascade Mountains catch the clouds, don't let them pass over. The clouds kind of get stuck here and hang out until they get enough water in them to make it rain. And that's why the Seattle area is kind of known as being a rainier area.